Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 423 Football Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Bouchard, joined here as always by Brett Hamilton.
Hello.
And we are back. We just finished recording our QB rankings episode, so we're doing these back-to-back. This time, this episode's all about running backs. Running backs exclusively. We're talking nothing else. Same format as the quarterback episode, except this time, all running backs. So just a little bit of news before we get into our rankings. Darius Geis out for the season with a torn ACL. I know that happened probably like a week ago, but again, we've been out of commission for a little while. So Darius Geis out for the season, torn ACL. What does this mean for the Redskins?
Well, it means they're down one running back.
That you get the best analysis around here, guys.
Say I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
No, it's well, it's interesting because you said before this episode that it gave more clarity to the backfield in Washington, whereas I said it made it more
I wouldn't say
cloudy.
that. I wouldn't say that. I would say it gives me more clarity on how I'm going to draft that backfield. Because originally, I liked Geis. I didn't really like his ADP that much. I love Chris Thompson. Obviously, his ADP is going to rise a little bit with this, but I was much more comfortable taking Chris Thompson before the ACL injury. I was much more comfortable taking Chris Thompson in round 10, 11, 12 than I was taking Geis in round 4 or 5. That's all I was saying.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Also, Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny has a broken finger. He's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. He should be back for week 1. I think this is going to delay his, number 1 role in that backfield. I think Chris Carson is going to have that chance to really hold on to that job. Yeah. I still think I love Rashad Penny. I still think he's the second best running back in that draft class.
The hype was coming in hard for Chris Carson even before this news broke. He was already rising up. All the beat reporters were saying how good he looked and all of that. And it's obviously detrimental when any rookie misses camp and preseason. But I still have faith in Rashad Penny to earn that role as the season progresses. You just may have to wait a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, rookie running backs have premiered in the preseason so far. Saquon Barkley looks fantastic.
He looked all right in his first round.
We'll talk about that more here in a minute. Darius Geis, obviously, that's a crippling blow. Rashad Penny. It's all these rookie guys that are getting the attention at the moment. Okay, consistence, running back, rankings. Here we go. Number 1. Actually, our top 4 we agree on. So
that was pretty surprising.
Yeah, we're going to go through these quick because the top 4, they're a tier of their own. We know who they are. It's just, you can, honestly, I'm not really, there's only one guy that I would say I wouldn't shuffle around in the top 3, but we'll get to that. First guy, Todd Gurley. I mean, number 1 running back last year in a very, very revamped offense led by Sean McVay and Jared Goff. They used Todd Gurley and Todd Gurley only. He is the only running back they even think about using. They got they have some decent guys behind them, but it doesn't matter. Todd Gurley is the guy, and that is why he's
John Kelly.
Yeah, that is why he is our number 1 guy, and he
got
actually
paid like the number 1 guy.
Yeah,
too.
and he's actually getting balls thrown to him out of the backfield. So it's definitely a good sign that Todd Gurley will still be the number 1 running back this year.
Yep, I have no doubts. Number 2, Le'Veon Bell. You've probably heard of him before. A lot of people switch around these top 2. Me, I don't know how you feel about it. For me personally, it's whatever you feel like. I mean,
it's whatever, man.
I can't argue hard against why Le'Veon Bell shouldn't be number 1. But I do like Todd Gurley a little bit more, just because he doesn't have a Antonio Brown competing for touches and receiving touches. But Le'Veon Bell, just year in, year out, ultra consistent. Always, he gives you those week-winning weeks. He's provides a consistency. He's on the field for almost all the snaps, which is what you want in a premier running back. There's no timeshare. There's no one behind him. Very similar to Todd Gurley. The only risk, and we said the same thing last year, is this contract thing. He does the whole holdout thing, but last year didn't affect him. He got off to a slow start. It may happen again this year where he gets off to a slow start because he's missed all this time. But he's still. I don't expect him to be on the Steelers next year. He's going to perform this year, and I'm not worried about it. Just even with all this contract stuff, that puts a little bit of pressure, and that's why I'm glad that Todd Gurley doesn't have money on his mind right now. He got paid and he's happy. That's one of the reasons that I have Todd Gurley above Le'Veon Bell.
Definitely. All right, coming in at number 3 on our rankings, David Johnson. David Johnson obviously missed most of last year with a wrist injury, so it really shouldn't affect his ability to make cuts or anything like that. It's not like it's a leg injury. This is a guy who just took the league by storm his rookie year and his sophomore year. It's just... there's no slowing the guy down. He is a monster. He's got power like Ezekiel Elliott. He's got jump cuts and catching ability like Le'Veon Bell. Yeah. He is the total package at the running back position. The only reason I think we have him at 3, or at least I do, is because the team he's on might not be up to par with like the Steelers and the Rams.
I do think that the Cardinals are going to take a pretty big step up
this
year. I do
agree with that, yes.
But still, they're no Steelers and they're no Rams.
Yeah, I don't think the touchdowns are going to be quite as there or as available to him.
It's not going to be as high a scoring offense as the Rams and the Steelers.
But yeah, still love David Johnson.
I love David Johnson. You don't have... I kept David Johnson all last year just so he could be my keeper next year, but somehow I traded for Todd Gurley in the middle of the season last year.
If only we had 2.
And so, yes, I would vote for that. And you have no idea how hard it is for me not to keep David Johnson because I love the guy. He's one of my favorite running backs, if not my favorite running back. I just love watching. He's one of the most enjoyable players to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see him play all this year.
Definitely. Number 4 on our list. Go ahead.
Ezekiel Elliott. This is the first guy on our list that doesn't really have the pass catching ability. I mean, he has the ability. Obviously, he's an NFL running back, but that's not how they use him. And yet, he's still at number 4 because the offense still is going to run through Ezekiel Elliott. He's going to get the touches every single game. He's one of those guys you don't have to worry about. There's no committee. There's nothing like that. He served his suspension last year. There's nothing looming this year.
As far as we know.
As far as we know. I don't think either one of us are high on Dak Prescott this year in his passing ability. So I don't envision a step up in the passing game to take away anything from Zeke. I think that he's still going to be the focal point. He's just a monster when it comes to. He's one of the most traditional ground and pound guys that you can find, and that's why we have him consensus number 4.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think the offense is going to be as good.
No.
Just repeating what you said, how everything's going to run through him, and I think a lot more so now that there's not many weapons on that team anymore.
Yeah, the wide receivers, they're all up in the air.
Yeah, the offensive line is still fantastic, which is a big part of why Ezekiel Elliott has so much success in the NFL.
Yeah, and that didn't change.
No, I do think, honestly, I think Ezekiel Elliott's probably going to have the most rushing yards in the NFL. Receiving, not so much. That's why those other 3 guys are up there. And especially, not to mention, I don't know if we mentioned this on the show yet, we have changed our league to half-point PPR.
Yes.
So all of our rankings, everything we discuss from here on out is going to be reflected on that. It's not going to change much because,
it's just half point.
Yeah, if it was a full point, then you'd see significant change. Like, guys, like more of the receiving guys being even higher, but this is just based on half-point PPR. But yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, that's pretty much a tier right there. Gurley, Bell, Johnson, and Elliott.
That's probably the most, out of all the positions, that's probably the most clear. Oh, no. Antonio Brown, I think, is in the most clear tier of his own.
I disagree with that.
Really? I think he's by far, by a mile.
I don't.
Like, you can't even, I don't think you can even make a case for anyone else.
I can. We're not getting into this right now.
Because this is a run. Well,
yeah.
we'll have a wide receiver.
Yeah, next show we're talking that, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, number 5 on our list, Alvin Kamara. We both have him at 6, actually, but ended up at 5.
Old 2-person rankings.
Yeah, good old 2-person rankings. I like Kamara. I can't...
Obviously, we like him the same amount.
I can't put him ahead of just... I don't know. There's just something's weird with Kamara to me. I don't think he can keep up what he did last year by any means.
No, I don't think that's possible.
I understand Mark Ingram is out for the first couple of games.
First, what is it? 4 games?
4 games. Sorry, I said couple. But just something doesn't feel right with it. I don't think he can be that 3-down guy. I don't think he can be a top 5 fantasy running back again. That was just something out of the ordinary for the Saints, for running backs of his style and stature in general. Yeah. I think he's a great talent. I know, and again, we have him at 6, so I'm not bashing the guy. It's just something doesn't feel right when I draft Alvin Kamara.
I understand. I think it's probably a combination of, one, you haven't seen this type of player from the Saints that I can recall. You haven't seen the Saints not pass the ball like they didn't last year.
And I still like Mark Ingram a lot.
And yes,
I think Mark Ingram can easily outscore Alvin Kamara when he comes back.
Yeah, and I have nothing. Yeah, no qualms about that, because I think Mark Ingram is still going to have a good year when he comes back. And I think the thing that sticks out in my mind is, like, it just comes back to can he repeat what he did last year? And it just seems so it seems so unlikely, and that's why it kind of bothers me to put him so high. Obviously, we have him at the same spot, but it's just it's hard, but he did all of what he did last year, and he wasn't a 3-down back. So it's not like we know he can do it. It's just, how is that offense going to look this year as compared to last year? I think they're going to. We talked in our last show, if you listened, about the quarterbacks, how Drew Brees is going to take another step up. He had a historically low year last year. But it's also hard for me to move him down past 6.
Yeah, I can definitely see him. I can definitely see myself moving him down more than moving him up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who I would move him ahead of.
It's just there's going to be regression for Kamara, and people need to realize that he's not going to improve or even have what he or have the production he did last year. People need to know that and realize it and be prepared for it, and just realize where they're drafting him. Just be wary of where you're actually taking Kamara.
Yeah. Coming in at number 5. No, actually, that was number 5. Huh. Coming in at consensus, number 6, is Melvin Gordon, the first one we actually kind of disagree on. You've got him at 8. I've got him at 5. I guess, I do have him higher than most analysts out there. I believe there's a lot of beat writers out there. We get a lot of information every single day. You just go on, you can look up anything you want and read any report that you want. But one of the things that I do like and truly believe is Melvin Gordon getting more involved in the passing game than he already was. I think that the Chargers are going to have a really good offense this year, and we've talked about this a little bit over the past few episodes. But I think that they're going to score a lot of points, and Melvin Gordon is still, to me, one of those guys that he's not a part of any running back committee. I think there's a little risk. When you talk about a guy like Kamara, like the kind of anxiety we have about placing him where we placed him, I don't feel that at all about Melvin Gordon, even at 5. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Because
That's another good point about Kamara. There is an anomaly here because as you've seen so far with Gurley, Bell, Johnson, Elliott, Melvin Gordon now, those guys have nobody behind them.
Yeah.
Kamara is going to have Mark Ingram back at some point, and that's another.
And like you said, we haven't seen him be a 3-down back. So even with Mark Ingram out, there's still a chance that there's going to be another back that gets significant playing time.
Yeah.
So Melvin Gordon presents, in my mind, just one of those guys that you can lock in. You don't have to worry about splitting time. You don't have to worry about anyone else.
He's solid every week, too.
And I understand, looking at the rankings, how they're going to fall with the consensus and where you have them. I understand not having him at number 5, but the guys in this tier that we're about to get into are almost interchangeable to me. It's just how I feel about them. And one of the things I like about Melvin Gordon is how confident I am that he's going to get the work this year.
Yeah, I like Melvin Gordon. I don't think he has the upside of the other guys just because Chargers offense maybe not as good. That's why I have him at 8. But he's super reliable and he's super consistent and he's a very, very good just guy for 10 points a game.
Yeah.
That's 10 or more. You're golden. Double digits, you're golden.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon's got it. All right, coming in at number 7. Another little bit of a disagreement here. Kareem Hunt. I have him at 5. Brett has him at 9. I think Kareem Hunt is going to be the same amount get the same amount of work that he did last year. I know Spencer Ware's back. I know they've added some pieces to the offense. Patrick Mahomes is a new quarterback, which I think is all the more reason that Kareem Hunt's going to get more work because I don't have that much faith in Patrick Mahomes, and I really don't think the Chiefs completely do either. I know they have weapons, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce that he can throw to, but we still haven't seen the guy go out there and do it.
No.
And that's why I think they're going to use Kareem Hunt similarly to what they did last season. I think the rushing yards, obviously he was the rushing yard leader last year. I think that could happen again this year. Touchdowns, again, they're kind of hit or miss in the NFL nowadays.
Can't predict touchdowns.
Yeah, but he's still going to be up there. I definitely 100% every single time I will take Kareem Hunt over Alvin Kamara.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think I would not, but
clearly based on your ranking,
I totally understand, and I think we've talked about this before. Is the thing for me is the Andy Reid offense is so flippy floppy every year. It's just it's almost unpredictable in how he uses the running backs, and yeah, I mean, you touched on it at the very beginning up front, and I guess my biggest worry is Spencer Ware. He's going to have a role in this offense, and I know that you think Kareem Hunt is a lot better than Spencer Ware, and he is, but Spencer Ware is not a bad running back either, and he's going to get some work, and I'm just afraid that is going to turn into a little bit of a regression from last year for Kareem Hunt. Obviously, I have him at number 9. He's still a number 1 a running back in my mind. So I mean, it's not drastic, but it's enough to push him down a little bit. Coming in at consensus number 8, the first rookie on our list. Not a shocker. It is Saquon Barkley. Brandon's got him. Is there a ghost in here? Whoa, man. I think Saquon Barkley is... I think it's the ghost of him in here. I don't know. Well, that got me off track.
Anyway, Saquon Barkley.
Number 7 for Brandon. Number 8 for me, so we basically agree on where he's going. And I think this is fair. I think you're going to see him at the back of the first round most of the time. It all comes down to what you... Obviously, it's a rookie. We have no last year to look at other than college. And he was a monster.
We do have one preseason game to look at.
Okay, we have one preseason game now, and he looked fine. Fine,
is that the word?
Yeah. The first touch he had was...
explosive.
A 39-yard run. And what really... I was going to touch on it in the news, but I thought I'd save it for whenever we talked about him. What really caught my eye in that very first, a rookie running back who has all of the hype. He has the most hype out of any rookie in this class by far. Well, besides some quarterbacks.
Baker
maybe.
Mayfield,
yeah. Besides Baker Mayfield, because he's number 1 overall. He's got all of that pressure coming into his first preseason game. This is the first time people see him for real. And what amazed me was his patience on the patience and the vision to wait for that hole to open up and then just explode through it and evade like people were just diving all over him and they just couldn't catch him. That was really impressive. The composure and patience to break off a 39-yard run for his NFL debut. That was really impressive.
Honestly, I mean, this might be a little bit of a stretch, but he's a faster Le'Veon Bell. And that's scary. That's a scary thing to say.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, he is faster, and of course, we didn't even mention his, world-beating combine. That was just a performance.
Yeah, but just in the offense in general, like he's going to get when I say most, 90-95% of the running back touches. I guarantee that.
Yeah, he's going to be another one of those workhorse running backs. There's no one even close talent-wise to him on that roster. The Giants haven't had a solid running back since like Tiki Barber. I mean, they've just been dry at that position, and they want to run the ball. We saw them hand off to a myriad of running backs last year that couldn't get it done. They were just terrible, and they still kept handing it off because they want to run it. Of course, that did have something to do with Odell Beckham not being there as well. But I still think that he's one of the more safe options in terms of his workload is solidified.
I think he has the best upside of any of these guys outside of the top four. I think if anyone's going to jump into the top four, he is one of them.
He's the only one that I think has that Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Zeke.
Yeah, we might be talking top 5 next year.
He's like Zeke with pass catching ability in my mind. Like he's that kind of a power running back who can also catch the ball and is a lot faster. It's just, if you put all of those things together and everything goes right, he could be top 1 or 2 running backs this year.
Yeah. Number 9 on our list, Leonard Fournette. I have him at 9. Brett has him at 7. Leonard Fournette is a bit of a struggle for me just because I don't think he's the most healthy guy.
Yeah.
Jags offense, I still don't like that much. I think they're going to have to really just find ways to get Fournette involved, and I think they're going to try that a little too much, honestly. I think they're going to, again, take the ball out of Blake Bortles' hands, but there's going to be just certain points in drives where they're going to stall because they're trying to force feed Fournette. And that's good for his touches and everything, but I don't think his production and efficiency is going to be quite as there. Touchdowns, I think he's going to be up there with the best in terms of scoring touchdowns. But the only thing with Fournette, it's just the offense and how that things run. I think they're going to use other running backs as well. T.J. Yeldon was hurt here and there last year, but he's always been a decent guy to throw in there. They like throwing Corey Grant in there a lot.
Yeah.
It's just the reason I have him a little bit lower than you do is because I'm nervous with that Jaguars offense.
Just the offense in general.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I mean, the thing that I'm not as worried about the offense. I think that they are going to force feed Leonard Fournette, and that's going to inflate his fantasy numbers quite a bit. I think there's still an offense that wants to run the ball. Everyone talks about Blake Bortles last year. He played well. I mean, he was one game out of the Super Bowl. He played better than Tom Brady in that game that they lost. He had a great year last year, but they still don't want to put everything on Blake Bortles' shoulders. So I think they are going to force feed Leonard Fournette. And I think he has the talent to take advantage of that. The only two things that I'll say about Leonard Fournette is he's not the pass-catching running back. They do use, like you said, other running backs for that, like T.J. Yeldon, Corey Grant. They're going to be the ball catchers out of the backfield. And the injury thing is a little bit of a concern. He missed, 2 games last year, or a game and a half or something like that. So it's not like he missed half the season.
But it is something to monitor.
Yeah, and that was a carryover from his injury history in college, which is one of the things that kind of played into his risk last year. So it's still kind of on his shoulders, but even with the amount of work he got last year, to only miss like 2 games at the most is impressive. And I have less worries about his utilization. And I think his fantasy value is pretty solid. And I think definitely a top 10 running back. Coming in at number 10, rounding out the top 10, is consensus ranking Devonta Freeman. Brandon's got him at 11. I've got him at 10, so we pretty much are in the same ballpark. Devonta Freeman, I think at number 10, I think his ADP right now is like, I think 12, or maybe like, no, it's further than that. Overall, I think he represents a great value. As long as he can stay healthy, he's one of the more consistent running backs. He does have Tevin Coleman behind him, which Tevin Coleman's super talented, and he also provides a lot of fantasy value even when they're both 100%. But I think that Devonta Freeman is one of the more reliable quarterbacks at this drafting spot. And I think that we've talked about the Falcons improving from last year. I think that they're bound to have some positive regression or positive progression, not regression. That was kind of weird.
That's a little redundant.
Yeah, it's a little redundant. But Devonta Freeman, I think he's a guy that he's been in the top 10 for a few years now, and now we're seeing his ADP drop into the middle of the second round. And I think that's a great snag. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. After like the top 9 that we mentioned, you start trying to limit risk. Yeah. And there's a lot of risky guys through here, so you're limiting risk. You're also trying to look for upside. Devonta Freeman, upside because we've seen what he's done in the past.
Yeah.
And then limiting risk because he's usually pretty consistent even when he doesn't have those boom seasons.
Yeah.
All right, number 11 on our list, Dalvin Cook. I have him at 11. You have him at 12. So
I was surprised I had him lower than you did.
Yeah, well, I
thought I was higher on him than you were.
Here I am. I like Dalvin Cook. I like the talent. I know a lot of people are putting him top 10, putting him as a high upside guy to really, really jump into that next tier, the top 5 kind of guys.
Yeah.
I see where people are saying that. The ACL, I'm not really worried about the recovery from that. So I think he's still going to be
early season.
Yeah, I still think he's going to be explosive. I still think he's going to have a lot of yardage and be used a lot in that offense. Latavius Murray, believe it or not, is what scares me.
Yeah, I totally understand.
I think he's going to have a ton of goal line opportunities.
Yeah.
And Dalvin Cook is going to, his fantasy value is going to hurt because of that.
I think when they get around the goal line, it's going to be Latavius Murray. He's going to get the first shot to punch it in, and that is what worries me. Is Dalvin Cook owners are going to be very, very sad every time they see Latavius Murray in around the goal line.
The new vulture,
because they know he's going to vulture all those touchdowns.
He's the new
vulture. Number 12, consensus number 12. We've got Christian McCaffrey. Brandon's got him at 15. I've got him at 10. Christian McCaffrey, he solidified his role in that offense last year as he's not your run it up the middle guy. He's on the smaller side. I think you might have him a little bit higher in your rankings if Cam Newton knew how to throw a screen pass.
I'd have him higher in my rankings if, 1, C.J. Anderson hadn't signed with him, and 2, Cam Newton wasn't his quarterback.
Yeah, and that's the risk that comes with Christian McCaffrey. I understand dropping him after the C.J. Anderson trade because I think C.J. Anderson still has some juice left. I've not been constructive. I don't do constructive criticism of C.J. Anderson often. But I will say that this is a good situation for him. They don't want Christian McCaffrey to be that punch-it-in guy because he's not. That's not what he's good at. But the thing that I like about Christian McCaffrey is, especially in any sort of PPR, half point, quarter point, eighth of a point, anything like that type of PPR, is he catches a lot of balls out of the backfield, even with an inaccurate quarterback.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And I kind of disagree on like his ability to run between the tackles because I mean, coming out of college, he was rated the best between the tackles runner in the entire nation. But it's just I don't think they want to use him that way. Yeah. I think C.J. Anderson is going to be used a lot on the goal line. As much as I think they're going to limit Cam Newton's ability to run, I think he's going to obviously score a few rushing touchdowns on the goal line. That's going to take away from Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
All right, number 13, Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard, I got at 14. Brett's got him at 13. The thing with Howard, I hate that offense. Out of all the teams we talked about, or running backs we talked about so far, they all have decent offenses.
Yeah.
The Bears are horrible.
Yeah,
Mitchell Trubisky is. I don't think he's going to make a step up at all this year. I know they got a few more weapons in the receiving core. I don't see. Jordan Howard's a focal point. I understand that he's going to get yardage, but touchdowns,
Yeah, to me, this ranking, we value him about the same. This ranking is purely based on what I think his talent level is. It has nothing to do with what I feel like the Bears' offense is going to do this year. I'm not super hype about it.
Completely agree, though.
It's not fantastic. But Jordan Howard, we've seen him be extremely relevant. You've got Tariq Cohen, who's going to be the flashy pass catcher, but Jordan Howard is still the focal point. I think he's still the most talented player on the offense. He's gonna get the yardage for sure, but like you said, the thing you may be missing out on are those big games because I don't think the touchdowns will be there.
Yeah, I do believe that Jordan Howard is one of the better third round guys.
Yes.
You already have a running back, maybe you already have a wide receiver. Go and snag Jordan Howard to be your RB2. Definitely, I'd definitely take him over McCaffrey.
That's a lot of situations I'm in with my mock drafts. Is he's usually there in the third round when I've got a solid. I usually go running back first, and then I'll do a wide receiver, and then Jordan Howard most of the time ends up as my number 2 running back, and I think that's one of the more safe picks at that spot.
Yeah, definitely okay with that.
I think it's you.
Am I up? I thought I had the odd numbers. Whatever. Number 14 on our list. Sorry about the pause. LaShawn McCoy. I hate this.
This one's weird. Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I have him at 13. Brett has him at 15. I have him at 13, assuming he plays every game, and assuming the Bills aren't as bad as I think they're going to be. I will say, he was on my do not draft list. I'm not drafting him. I have him ranked here. I'm still not drafting him whatsoever. I think there's a good chance he gets suspended.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a good chance that offensive line is one of the worst in football. They lost 3 guys that were, honestly, 3 Pro Bowl linemen.
Yeah.
They have a new quarterback who knows who it's going to be. It might be McCarron. It might be Allen. Allen has looked like garbage and clueless in preseason thus far.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of just red flags saying stay away from LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
Now, saying all that, he's still one of the premier talents in this league. He can do things on his own that nobody else can do, and that's why I still have him here. But I can't draft him. I am all about zero risk when I draft. At least in the early rounds, I can't do it. I cannot draft LaShawn McCoy.
No, to me, he's still going too early, even though I do have him at 15. 15 was once I got to the 15th spot in my rankings, I was like, okay, I can't ignore LaShawn McCoy anymore, even though I want to. But he's a guy that, I'm not drafting either. It's just too much risk. Like we said, this may be irrelevant in a couple of weeks when he's suspended for who knows how long.
If we have clarity. And his ADP is already dropping. He's dropping. He's dropped to 16th running back currently.
Yeah, and I think that does reflect people thinking that he is going to be suspended. He's just not a guy that I'm seeking. He's aging. He's getting older. He still looked good last year.
That's
when
true.
He wasn't hurt.
That's a good point too, because he's definitely the oldest running back we have on our list.
Oh yeah, and
Actually, he's one of the older running backs in the NFL.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, he didn't. It's because he didn't take a dip in production last year when he was playing. He's bound to fall off at some point, based on that, and the risk of the suspension is why the highest I'm willing to put him is 15.
Yeah.
Last on the list is number 15, Derrick Henry, just squeaking in there. We've talked about
squeaking in there. Come on now.
Well, yeah. We've talked about Derrick Henry a lot on this podcast. Brandon, as you would expect, has him at number 12. I have him at 19. I'll just let Brandon take it over.
Well, no, tell me what your reasoning behind 19, because everyone's heard me talk about how hyped I am on Derrick Henry.
I think Derrick Henry carries a little more risk than I'm willing to take. I think that we haven't seen him assume the number one role yet. I'm not saying he doesn't have the talent. I think he does have the talent. But I think to take him this high is too much of a shot for me to take. He's got an incredible talent. I guess the reason why I'm 7 spots behind you is you have no regard for Dion Lewis, and I understand that. I understand you don't think he's a good player, but he was still one of the most expensive free agent signs this offseason. They didn't sign him to sit on the bench and give Derrick Henry a breather whenever he needed it. He's going to be involved somehow, and I don't think Dion Lewis is great. I think he was a part of a really good offense and a good system that works year in and year out, but they spent a lot of money to use Dion Lewis, and I think that just to dismiss him as just a bench player, I just can't see it.
See, I think Dion Lewis is going to be used kind of like Austin Eckler was used in the Chargers offense. Mm-hmm. Melvin Gordon is the guy. He's the guy. Austin Eckler comes in and maybe scores a touchdown, maybe has 40 yards one game. That's what I think Dion Lewis is going to be. Derrick Henry, I just saying that he's not risky, or saying that he is risky, I think that's just blowing things out of proportion. I think he's just one of the safer running backs that we have this year. I think he's going to have a ton of touches. They've already said they are committed to having him, touch the ball 20-plus times a game. And I just find it in my mind, just in anyone's mind, it should just be hard to believe that a guy like him in that offense with a great offensive line, a running quarterback, getting 20 touches a game, how he cannot just completely explode in fantasy this season.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that the upside's not there. The upside is definitely there because he could just be the guy like you're saying, and that's what you're expecting. I'm just saying, I think there's a little bit more risk that it doesn't work out that way for whatever reason. Either the Titans are bad because they were just mediocre last year, even though they made it pretty far. Marcus Mariota just might not be good. They might not be in situations where they can just run the ball a lot. For all of those reasons, I think that investing in him as the number 12 running back is just a little too hot for my blood.
Say what you like. I will say this, and then we'll move on. Granted, we might not move on after I say this. I think, I was talking about Saquon Barkley, jumping, this is, next year we might be talking about a top 5. I think Derrick Henry is the only other guy outside of, outside of the top 9 guys. We had Fournette and Barkley there that could actually jump up into that tier as well.
You don't think Dalvin Cook can?
No.
Really?
Wow. I don't think he can.
Okay. That's fine. You have to acknowledge that Derrick Henry represents no passing ability.
I understand that.
No pass catching upside.
Neither does Zeke.
No, but
Zeke
is Zeke.
I don't. Okay, that's the most ignorant thing you've said on this show. Zeke is Zeke. Oh my gosh! Don't even. Okay, they have a line in Dallas that is just transcendental, that has elevated Zeke. I've said it from the beginning.
I know how you feel about that.
If Derrick Henry was on the Cowboys, he would,
I've heard this
without question, be what Zeke is right now in terms of fantasy production, in terms of just production in general. The fact that he had to wait behind DeMarco Murray, that is why he's not being talked about like that. But the Titans have a very good offensive line. They have a quarterback that I think is similar to Dak Prescott. They have receiver weapons that are probably better than Dallas. I don't see why. I think the Titans' defense is a little bit worse than Dallas's, but Derrick Henry, it's a very, very similar situation, and that's why I believe he can jump up into that next level. Again, Dion Lewis, I understand he's a little bit more of a threat than any other Dallas running back has to Zeke.
That's what I'm like. If they truly believe that Derrick Henry was an Ezekiel Elliott talent, they had that on their roster. Why would they sign Dion Lewis, who was, I think, like the second most expensive?
You need other guys.
But why spend that kind of money if you're gonna?
Because they had it. They were able to go out and get him. They were able to go out and get Malcolm Butler, who was one of the most expensive cornerbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, they
who knows
had
why?
We don't need to go down that road. But they had the money. They see talent in the guys, so why not spend it? I mean, there weren't many running backs that were available on the market that would be that type of running back for them. Like Carlos Hyde was on the market. He's not that type of running back. I mean, there are guys that moved around that. I mean, Latavius Murray. He was available 2 years ago. We had LeGarrette Blount moving, but they were similar running backs to Derrick Henry. They didn't want that. They wanted to spend money on the one guy that's not like Derrick Henry that can maybe elevate the passing game a little bit. I understand Dion Lewis is going to have a role. It's just Derrick Henry is going to have just a transcendental, significant role in that Titans backfield.
All right, well, let's see how that pans out. It'll be exciting to watch.
It definitely will. Just a few guys that missed the cut. Jerick McKinnon. I know new guy going to the 49ers. I guess they're going to use him as a 3-down back. I think. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think he can be that. Joe Mixon. We got Joe Mixon, Bengals running back. Jeremy Hill is gone. Giovanni Bernard, I don't think is the greatest running back in the world. But Joe Mixon, I really, really like what I'm seeing out of him in preseason. We saw what he did at Oklahoma. Last year was kind of just Bengals didn't know what to do with their running backs. They were just picking one each week, and it didn't work. But I think they're going to go Joe Mixon all the way this year. So I'm really liking Joe. Jay Ajayi, obviously he didn't play a full season with the Eagles last year, but he is set to be the starter this year, and I think he's going to get a good amount of work. I think they're going to use Corey Clement quite a bit as well. They saw what he could do in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And then Darren Sproles is going to be back. I'm not too worried about that, but
now
Jay Ajayi is definitely the goal line dude.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
Especially with no LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, Alex Collins, Ravens running back. That one is very, very risky to me. I like Alex Collins. I think the Ravens have improved on offense, but there are a lot of... Kenneth Dixon's going to be back, and I'm just not 100% sold on Collins. I like it, but I don't.
I go back and forth with this one a lot because Alex Collins represents, he could just be the number one guy there. He could get all of the touches there because that's the type of running back that he is. Or... on the opposite side of the spectrum, they might just move away from him and go with someone else.
Exactly.
It's such a wide range of possibilities for Alex Collins. It's it represents a lot of risk because I just don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think that Alex Collins is the most talented guy there, but they might just not go with him.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
Yeah. Kenyon Drake, obviously. I guess the starter in Miami.
I don't know.
I think they are going to use Frank Gore quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Kenyon Drake, he's going to get a lot of the first looks. He's not going to be a 3-down guy. I don't think he can handle that.
No. I don't think they want him to be.
If he bulks up some more, what I've seen in camp, it's not much different than what he was.
No.
He's super fast. He's got ability.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's that top 15 guy. in this league. And then one more, I forgot to write him down. Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller, just because, I really like his talent. I think he's one of the better ball carriers, and just his vision is up there with the best in the league. I like the fact that Deshaun Watson is his quarterback. He just elevates the offense. He's a running threat, so that takes away, especially with the read options. The only thing I really don't like is, one, the way the Texans have used him in the past, and two, that offensive line in Houston. So those are the things that are kind of scaring me when it comes to Lamar Miller.
Yeah, I totally understand.
All right, just a few late-round guys before we go. So, favorite late-round guys, we're talking not necessarily, it doesn't have to be super late, but just guys like,
well, mine are super late.
Go for it. It doesn't have to be like anyone like Mark Ingram who's going later than what you think, but go ahead.
Mine are pretty much undrafted, are definitely undrafted, so...
Until now.
Until now. You're hearing it here first. The first guy I'll mention is Peyton Barber, running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ronald Jones, obviously the hot talk around there is rookie running back Ronald Jones II, who they picked in the second round. I am not convinced that he is going to be the every down back or what they want him to be. I think that there's a very good chance that Peyton Barber has more fantasy points at the end of the season than Ronald Jones II. All of the reports around camp and how the coaches talk about him, talk about the running back situation, is it's either a split or Peyton Barber is their starter. And to me, it could just be, that rookie has to earn that spot in the depth chart. He has to earn the earn the right to start on the team. But there's a very good, there's a real possibility that Peyton Barber is the guy in the Buccaneers, and he's going undrafted right now. And whether or not the Buccaneers are good or not, jury's still out on that one. But they're still fantasy. That's one of the teams that produces fantasy points even without being a great team, unfortunately. But if you give me the starting running back on the Buccaneers, they typically don't do a split backfield. That's not normal. It may change this year based on how they drafted and what they think they've got in their running backs, but I still think that there's a legitimate opportunity for Peyton Barber to just keep that role that he took over last year when Doug Martin was not good.
Yeah, Bucks definitely have one of the more confusing backfields in the league right now. I agree. I would definitely rather have Barber in the 13th than Jones in the 7th.
Jones is going pretty high. It's a lot higher than I think he deserves right now.
Yeah. One of my guys going super late as well, Matt Breida. Matt Breida going in the 14th round, running back for the 49ers. I know everyone's just all about Jerick McKinnon, and 49ers seem to be all about Jerick McKinnon getting a good amount of the work. But Breida, I think, is going to be used a ton. I think they're going to use McKinnon. I know McKinnon in the past, especially with the Vikings, it's just apples and oranges because of different teams. But in the past, he was kind of used as a pass-catching back, and he can do that. But I think they really like what they have in Breida. I think he's explosive. I think he's a good change of pace for them. I think he's going to get the majority of the catches out of the backfield. And honestly, I think he's going to even press McKinnon for some time eventually in the season because I'm not that high on McKinnon. I don't like the talent that much. I like what I'm hearing at a camp saying they're using him a lot and how they're going to use him, and I think the offense is going to be better. Kyle Shanahan, just all that. That's great, but I think at some point Breida is going to really, really chip into McKinnon's time.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. McKinnon, we just haven't seen McKinnon take over that number one role, so it's just kind of you have to do a lot of projecting.
See it believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I'll see it when I believe it.
I'll see it when I believe it.
I'm just keeping my eyes closed.
Yeah, just dreaming.
My last late round guy is we talked about him a little bit when we talked about Dalvin Cook. Is Latavius Murray. This is I truly believe Latavius Murray could end up with like 7 or 8 touchdowns by the end of the season, just because I think that he's going to vulture the goal line. We haven't seen Dalvin Cook and Latavius Murray both healthy at the same time. That's what worries me the most about Dalvin Cook, and that's why I think that there is at least some flyer value in Latavius Murray. He might be heavily used in the offense. We just haven't seen it, and we don't know how they're planning to use both of those healthy running backs. And yeah, I really think he's going to be the goal line guy, and that's going to make a lot of Dalvin Cook owners really unhappy. But if you get Latavius Murray, I can definitely see a world where he gets 7 or 8 touchdowns this year just based on goal line work.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was going to go with Chris Thompson as my other late-round guy, but I feel like that's a little bit of a cop-out. One, because guys got hurt. So
yeah.
Thompson's
he won't be super late-round for a long time.
He's in the 9th right now. That has risen. I think it's going to rise even more. We saw what he did last year. I mean, he was just explosive every single game. So instead of going down that road, I'm going to say Corey Clement. We talked about him a little bit earlier when we were talking to Jay Ajayi. I think Jay Ajayi is going to get a good amount of work, but I think they're going to find ways to get Corey Clement involved. I mean, this is a guy who was, outstanding at Wisconsin in college, and he comes out, is kind of overlooked in the draft, and the Eagles snag him. He's a guy, he can catch the ball out of the backfield like with the best of them, honestly. He's not the biggest guy, so that's why I don't think he won't take much goal line away, but I definitely think he's going to be a good explosive guy, kind of like Breida. I mean, I was talking Breida on those 3 guys, Breida, Thompson, and Corey Clement. I think are all 3 going to have similar playing styles and usage. Maybe not so much value and production, because Chris Thompson I think is going to have a much better opportunity than the other guys, but Corey Clement is just a good name to look after, and I really think a good name if you're taking Jay Ajayi. I wouldn't even say a handcuff, just another guy to have.
No, I mean, that's a kind of a similar situation to Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, obviously not on the same caliber, but I don't view Tevin Coleman as a handcuff. I mean, technically, if
it's a handcuff, but if
Devonta Freeman went down, Tevin Coleman would be like one of the hottest commodities you could have.
Yeah.
But even with Devonta Freeman 100% healthy, Tevin Coleman still produces value. I think that could be the same situation for Jay Ajayi and Corey Clement.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's going to be all for today. We recorded the quarterback and running back ones on the same night, back-to-back. Obviously, they're going to be released at different times. But next, we're going to find a day to record wide receivers and tight ends, get those rankings out to you guys. So you have something to look at when you are drafting. At some point, I would like to put our full rankings up somewhere. I'll keep you guys posted on that. Just make sure you follow us on Twitter at the423football to stay up to date with all that. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of exciting things as the season gets closer and closer. Preseason week 2 starts in what tomorrow? Or no, today. Today. So yeah, just make sure you keep up with that. Again, that's at the 423football on Twitter. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and YouTube. Give us a like. Leave your comments and reviews. Thanks for listening. We are the 423 Football Podcast.